Good evening, Gills fans. A slight change of plan this Wednesday evening. No match day preview as we look forward to Saturday's game against Harrogate Town. But instead, as I'm sure you're all fully aware, with myself, Reece, and Jack all on screen, we are back for the first Gills in the Pub of the 25-26 campaign, episode 17 in all of this series that wasn't even my idea, I won't lie. It was Gilles Anorak. But it's gone from strength to strength. Plenty of positive stuff to talk about tonight, fellas.
Yeah, yeah, I can't think of anything negative, mate. So there we go. I'll get that out in the open from the off.
It must be good then. It must be good if Jack can't think of anything negative. So I'm sure someone's screen recording that clip as we speak. Right, last episode was recorded on the 14th of May, some 11 days after the final day of last season when we saw off Port Vale on the final day. It's been all right since then, hasn't it, Reece?
Yeah, I think if someone then had told you that we'd be sitting here, what are we, nearly end of September, hadn't lost a game since, we're top of the league, we're scoring goals, I think just we all would have sort of laughed. But yeah, such is the way it's gone. It's not new for us. We start every season well. But I don't know, I'm sure we'll come on to it a bit more as we go through, but it feels different this time, I think.
Literally stole my question. I was going to come to you, Jack, and say, but it just feels a little bit different this time around, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would say that it's felt different the last few weeks. I would say the first few weeks of the season felt similar-ish. Like
Hmm.
if we look back, I haven't done the exact stats in terms of looking it all up, mate. But if you look back, even through Ainsworth tenure, which I think's been absolutely brilliant, we're still scoring not many goals. But then that being said, 3-1, we scored four against Chesterfield. We did score two the other week. It's starting to really come together. So that's the only minor thing you could throw at them. But the fact we've done this a couple of weeks later than we normally do, like if you look back for the last few seasons when we've been
Hmm.
top of the league, it's been 4 or 5 games in, and we've all kind of gone, oh, we think it's going to be a good season. Whereas, we're 9 games in now, are we?
Hmm.
And yeah, still not lost a game. I think the main difference for me is, and we'll probably come onto this in more depth, is that it's the resilience of the team. Like if you look at the team last season and the season before that, I moaned continuously at the lack of effort and the lack of desire. And you don't see that from these players at all. So even if they're going 1-0, 2-0 down in the case of Bromley, they're finding a way to get back into it, which is something that we haven't done for several years. And I think personally was the missing ingredient for this team. There was always a decent amount of talent. We've added well this summer, but the thing we've really gained with Ainsworth, in my opinion, is that resilience and that will to win and will to get back into games, which we didn't have. They were too weak-minded previously.
Yeah, and I think the only thing we can say is that we don't know how this group will react when that defeat does come,
True.
and it will come. But again, Reece, to come back to you, I personally feel a lot more confident now that when that defeat does come and this unbeaten run does end, and it will at some point, I've got a lot more faith in this group for it to react the right way and for one defeat not to become three defeats and five defeats and 1 month become a 2 month or a 12 game run without a win. I think there's so much more about this group in terms of what we've added to it that Jack's alluded to, but just in terms of the fact that what Gareth Ainsworth and Richard Dobson and all the other coaches have instilled into the playing group now.
Yeah, and like you said, obviously we don't know how that's going to pan out because we haven't lost a game yet.
No.
Like you say, it will happen, but like Jack says, we've you'd like to think it's a little indications of how it will be that in games how we're reacting now when we go behind. And I think Saturday just gone to a good example. I think 12 months ago, if we go to Newport and we go one down after 25 seconds, I think we lose 3 or 4 nil. Personally, um, and is it every away game we've come from behind? I believe.
Apart from Oldham.
Yes. So if that's anything to go by, that the way we're responding to setbacks within games, like obviously Jack said with Bromley as well, two down, probably a little bit fortunate. It was only two at half time, but then we get in, we dig in, we find a way. Um, I'd like to think that Ainsworth is the kind of guy that will keep them grounded. Will make sure that they don't get too high, even though we're doing really well at the moment, and he'll make sure that it's not the end of the world when we eventually do lose, because it's never been done in the EFL that a team's got a whole season without losing. So it's inevitable. It is going to happen.
Mhm.
And yeah, at the moment, I've got full belief that we'll dust it off whenever it does happen, and we'll carry on doing what we're doing, because ultimately you don't go 21 games unbeaten if you're not a good football team.
Absolutely, and that's the thing now, isn't it? You can't 3 or 4, 5 or 6, anything up to 10. You can sort of say, yeah, well, and you still have to have elements of luck. Don't get me wrong. Saturday's very different if Callum Antry scores the penalty. Bromley away is very different if they score a third. That would be just to chuck some negativity in there, because it wouldn't be Gills in the pub without a little bit. I joke before we get jumped on. The last 2 away games, the only concern I've had is we've started really slowly in both. Like we've said, 2-0 down inside quarter of an hour. Bromley should be 2-0 down inside 10 minutes against Newport. The big positive, obviously, is we found a way. We've earned our luck. They say if you can't be good, be lucky, and all them types of cliches. But we won't keep getting away with giving teams head starts on the road, will we?
No, no. I think that's the main difference between away and home, I guess, really, is have we gone behind once in the league at home this season? That's another thing as well. Like,
We've
we've
only
not.
conceded once, haven't we?
Yeah. So I guess you could look at it and go, well, what are they going to be like at home if we go 1-0 down? But I trust that they get back into the games as they're doing away. But yeah, we could start better. I don't know why it is the case. Wouldn't be Gillingham if we didn't, you know, give ourselves a bit of a job. Yeah, it will come back to bite us, mate, eventually. It has to, as Reece says, eventually, but long may it continue the way it is.
Absolutely, yeah. Right, anyway, off on a slight tangent from the very off, which is great. But summer signings and departures, and we're not talking about retained and released lists, because we did that on the final episode of last season. But since we last spoke, we've added the likes of Andy Smith back from Hull City on a permanent deal, Gareth McCleary on a free. This is just in squad number order. Seb Palmer Holden for an undisclosed fee from Bristol City. Travis Akamir on loan from Watford to cover injuries. Johnny Smith on loan from Wigan Athletic. Sam Vokes on a free transfer, and Lenny Serino on a free transfer. And first question, and I'll come to you, Reece. How good has our business been in terms of incomings? And then I'll come to Jack on the outgoings as well.
Yeah, superb. I think it's been a really good example of quality over quantity. I think there's probably still, before a ball was kicked to start the season, the one doubt people may still have had is, have we got that 20 goal a season striker? But I think now, time's going on, we're becoming a really good example that you don't necessarily need one to be a good team. We're starting to share goals around really, really nicely. And believe it or not, I think there's only 3 teams in the league that have scored more than us at the moment, I think.
I think so, yeah. It's something like that, yeah.
We're clearly getting something right. Good mix of experience, obviously, with people like Vokes coming in, some younger players with a little bit of experience at the level, like Palmer Holden, who've got room for growth. Obviously, Smith, we knew from last season, was a good steady player, and I think apart from Saturday, I think he'd had a really strong start to the season. And then someone like Serino, who's turned out to be a really nice surprise. I know he's not played much recently, but someone we knew nothing about, and then when he got his opportunity in that home game against Chesterfield, really took it with both hands. So, and then obviously the two wide players, bring us. They give us a totally different dimension as to how we can try and approach a game now. If Ainsworth wants to do it, some proven experience and quality at not just this level, but the level above. And I think, there's already been glimpses, obviously, with Johnny Smith at the weekend, and then sort of McCleary using his experience to con the referee into a penalty at Bromley. But but no, I think all the signings apart from obviously the young lad from Watford, but to be honest, I think that was always going to be a case that he was purely signed because we had 2 centre-backs injured at the same time and the window was open. I don't think there was ever any sort of intention that he was going to come in and play an awful lot of football. But no, in the main, really promising. Obviously, I want to see a lot more of Palmer Holden. I thought his cameo at Newport looked promising at the weekend. So no, all really good stuff so far. Can't really complain about any of them.
No, absolutely agree. It's been really, really, really encouraging, hasn't it? Jack, anything to add on that before we go on to the 2 that left the club?
I suppose from my perspective, mate, going into the last week of the window, I was desperate for us to sign some pace, which I'm convinced we've done now. You know,
Mhm.
Smith and McCleary are fast lads. They might not be absolutely ultra quick, but they're direct wingers, and it's something we've been missing for years and years and years. So I commend the club for actually doing it. And we've not just signed two wingers for the sake of it. They do appear to be. I mean, Smith's, for example, their goal the other day was outstanding. And McCleary, you can see the nous of the lads. I say the lad, he's 1 year older than me, actually. But yeah, they're both good signings, mate. I think for me, I wouldn't even say they're negatives necessarily, but if you was looking at an absolute wish list of what you'd have as a squad for this level, if money was no issue, which I'd like to think to a certain degree, it's not with us in some cases at this level, but I think our centre backs are good, very good. I just worry that we don't have an absolute shithouse. Is the only thing I would say when you look at some of the defences over the years in League Two. That being said, we concede absolutely next to no goals. So it's probably it's a misnomer even thinking about it. But we just don't have that 6'3", 6'4" shithouse centre back that other teams do. That I worry we will need in certain situations. And then the only other one is just like Reece said. Have we got that 20 goal? Well, not even 20. I don't even think we've probably got a 15 goal season striker in that team. But is it needed? As he said, I don't know. Nevitt is an absolute grafter, works his arse off, but he's never going to, I don't think he's even going to get 10 goals this season for us, bless him. So the worry is, have we got enough goals in that strike force? But it's an unfounded issue at the moment. It's not causing any problems. It's just, absolute ideal scenario. Those two things maybe would have had, but we're doing pretty well at the moment, so let's not worry about
Just
that.
Stu desperate to try and find some negative. No, I'm joking.
Suppose
But like,
if I could pick one, it'd probably be maybe Saturday was a little bit of a good example that if we are light in one place, maybe sort of your more natural central midfield players, we might be one short possibly, is that we're having to sort of play tens in Dak and Williams and sort of with more sort of defensive responsibility at the moment because obviously Little's out, Mackenzie's been playing centre back. So if being really picky, maybe that's one where we might be one short, but we seem to be plugging the gaps quite well at the moment and seemingly getting away with it.
the thing is, you can sign so many that similar to the Academy one, and we understand that, and there's no harm in doing that because even if he plays 3 or 4 games between now and January and we send him back, it's more than he's going to get at Watford. But you can oversign, can't you? You think we've got
Mm.
Ewan Williams is nearly back. Nelson Kambeni's basically fit again, I think. Armani, I can't see being back out for much longer. Ethan Coleman was back at the weekend, I think, and now the fact that Mackenzie's back playing in centre midfield because we've gone to a back four, I don't think we're short in there.
No, I think we're
At all,
short. We're short
personally.
at the moment, based on right this second with the injuries. But I think I do agree with you, mate. I think when they're all fit, I think that's fine. I think yeah, just and we're fine in terms of centre back depth and striker depth. It's just yeah, maybe the Nevitt worries me. He doesn't look like he's ever going to score a goal for us, bless him. But he's doing lots of other things, the grafting that other strikers like say. You look over the years as someone who had natural finishing ability, like a Connor Wilkinson, wouldn't run 5 seconds of his life. So
Mhm.
I'd take a grafter over someone who's lazy all day long. It wouldn't be playing for us if he could finish.
And I said on my match day review the other day, I can't remember, and this is to defend Elliot a little bit. I can't remember, certainly in this season, I think his performances have deserved more than what he's got. I think he's got one assist, which is for winning a penalty. But I think his performances far outweigh the numbers that he's actually managed because
I agree.
he does everything right Saturday with that header. It grazes the outside of the post. He could have had another assist against Notts County, I think, first half if Dacky was about 2 inches taller. The one second half I thought was in the bottom corner, it hit the side netting. I think his performances warrant his place in the team at the moment. But I
I agree.
also said you've got Gareth McCleary coming back available this week. You've got Aaron Rowe essentially fully fit now, having come off the bench in every game so far, I think, apart from one. If you want to play 4-2-3-1, I think Nev's probably the one that is most likely to drop out of that system.
I do agree, mate. I think it's one of those where it's like Nolan, and we're going to come on to departures here in a second, obviously, but Nolan started like absolutely flying at Morecambe. And just sometimes players at some clubs just don't translate their previous ability into the club they're in right now. And you almost get to a point where it's gone on for so long where he's not scoring goals that maybe he's just cursed to never do it with us. And if he goes somewhere else, he'll bang him in. It's maybe just the monkey's on his back for so long here that the luck just doesn't fall for him. It's the sort of striker for us that if the analogy, if he fell into a barrel full of tits, he'd be coming up sucking his thumb. It's
One for the kids.
yeah, yeah. Don't. That's the vibe I get with him, bless him. But if he
I know
went,
what you mean.
if he went to someone up north, like I don't know who, he'd score on his debut and probably end up getting 20 goals for him. I just think he's the luck's
Yes.
just
He's
yeah.
got two
Well,
and
for
two
one
for
season.
Morecambe.
Oh, Nolan, excuse me. I meant Nevitt. But yeah, but
Oh,
you know what
sorry.
I
Yeah.
mean. Yeah,
Sorry, I
yeah,
thought
yeah.
you were still on Nolan. Yeah, he scored two crackers as well by all accounts. But yeah, I know what you mean. Sometimes to flip it the other way, it's like when people went and we signed Tom Eaves and everyone was like, oh, he's got 4 in 60
Yeah,
games.
yeah,
It
yeah.
just worked for Dane Oliver. It just worked. Sometimes it fits at a club for a season or two and then they go elsewhere and they become journeymen again. We've spoken on Jack Nolan. I think we both all agree, Reece, that it was the right time to rip up the contract. There was obviously a lack of performance. That's clear for all to see. I think Jack would be man enough to admit that. We then have to take into account he's a long way from home. I think his partner's just given birth, so there was obviously that to think about as well. He's closer to
Portsmouth, by
home.
the way. It's from Portsmouth originally.
I know he's from Portsmouth, but I think he lives in Accrington
But he lives up
or
there.
that
Fair
way,
enough.
yeah. So I think all his family are still based up there. And
Fair enough.
similar to the Joe Bode one, and which was probably the biggest disagreement we had throughout the summer, us three. The the question you have to ask is, were we stronger at midnight on the last day of the window than we were at 9 a.m. on the last day of the window? And for me, it's a categoric yes.
I was literally going to say categoric yes. That was exactly literally the words I was going to use, mate. Nolan, poor attitude for us. Similar vein of Nevitt of me saying just didn't work out from the off, so might not ever do so with Nevitt. Same with Nolan, never did. The player if you say Smith's his replacement, streets ahead it seems on ability and work rate, and then who was the other one you mentioned?
Well, it's McCleary instead of Joe Bode, I guess, isn't it? That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
closest you
yeah.
could say.
So you've got a 38-year-old geezer that's played, I would say, if not in the Prem, top end championship, proven quality versus a lad that at 20 years old has scored 3 goals in League Two. We're better off by a mile. 4
Four.
goals. Okay, excuse me.
I think.
Prolific.
Was it four? Oh no, it's just. Is it 3 or 4? He scored
I
against Notts
can't.
County last season, didn't he? Then he got
Wimbledon last season as well.
Swindon and then Tranmere.
Tranmere.
4. Yeah, it was 4, yeah.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, he had potential. He had
3.5,
potential, but
that barely counts, that Tranmere one. It took about, I think it's still going in now, isn't it?
if he had potential, mate, and 4 goals at 20 years old, someone's willing to pay you money for him, and you're going to bring in an experienced lad that's a proven career on the wing. I think it would made the right choice, in my opinion.
No, and I've said now with the benefit of hindsight, we like I say, ultimately we want to be as strong as we can, and I think we are, and we've got somewhere in the region of $250,000 in our back pocket as well. So happy days in that sense.
And a sell on fee as well, which is the most important thing. Because
Yeah.
if he doesn't fulfill his potential, we've had the pants down. If he does, then we make money out of it anyway. It's no lose for us.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. Like I say, my point at the time was, and again, it's hindsight, isn't it? It's like when you sack a manager, is it the right decision? Well, we don't know until we know who the replacement is and what he does. I'm happy that we've got Gareth McCleary and Johnny Smith. I think they improve us. So yes, it's now the right decision. And good luck to Joe. Like, he never caused any drama while
No.
he was with us, aside from potentially one silly dance in a gymnasium last season. But apart from that, again, work rate and all that was there. Couple of question marks at the end, but he's a kid. His head had been turned, so we all move on. Anything else to add on summer transfers?
I don't think so.
No, all sorted,
Oh,
all settled, all
the
happy.
only thing I would just maybe say, mate, is I wonder, has the lack of influence of the recruitment team helped with the signings we've made? Because it sounds like Ainsworth is the person that's led on this. It'd be interesting. We don't know really. It'd be interesting to know what input the recruitment team have actually had on this window, because it's gone better than others, is what I would say.
Just to throw that back at you, I think Gareth said in his interview after Newport that it was Hesse that brought Johnny Smith to his attention again. So, but again, we don't know, do we? But bottom line is we look better, we look stronger, regardless of who's done
regardless of who's done it. Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
We're all happy, and that's the main thing. Yeah. Right, new kits. They got launched what feels like about 5 years ago now. Back in June, there was a wonderful video at Mem's headquarters. announcing the new home kit, and then we got given the black and gold away, and then the very leery orange and purple. Before we start, Jack, I want to ask you, what's your favourite between the orange and purple and the pink one from a couple of seasons ago? If you had to wear one full kit for a week to get self-service pumps in the factory, what would you wear?
Purely because we was in the video, the pink one.
So vain.
I'd wear both of them over the green one we had last season.
Did you not like the green one?
Nah.
Oh, I love the green one. Mind you, I just love football kits, so it's just a bit of a problem. So
On aesthetics, mate, I would say the oh god, I don't know. I was about to say the orange and I was about to say the orange and purple one, but it's equally as awful. I can't lie. Orange and purple on aesthetics, I would say, yeah, just
fair enough. Are we all in agreement that the black one was the top of the tree in terms of the three? That is
very Juventus,
very, very classy, isn't it? Yeah, Juventus copied us essentially, and I've seen a lot of clubs across Europe now going with black and gold kits as well this season. So it seems to be in fashion at the moment. Blue kit, I think I can see what they were trying to do. I think it was trying to do a modern twist on the Lightning kit from the early 90s. It's probably my least favourite of the three. I'm going to be honest. Mine is black, orange, and purple. I thought the orange and purple one looked better when I saw it at Bromley when it had. Not that I'm going to wear it as a full kit, but it looked better as a full kit than just a shirt on its own. The only issue I have with all three of them is the placement and the design of that C&A building product sponsor on the back. And I've seen a lot of people have said they was trying to work out ways how you could get it taken off. It just didn't look right to me. Yeah, I thought it cheapened the shirt a little bit without being offensive towards C&A building products.
Yeah, I don't disagree, mate. I can see it over your shoulder. It's one of those where I think if that had been at the bottom of all of the kits and had been blended into the colours, I think it'd be perfectly fine. I think they've done themselves no good what's the word? No good PR from a company perspective of Gillingham fans by being I don't know if they insisted on that being them putting them up there, and I'd like to think the club would have said this should be at the bottom and in the colours of our kit rather than I feel like that must have been C&A saying that is their choice.
Yeah, I'd imagine there was a suggestion from us to say where it goes and what colour it goes. I think because it's at the bottom on the orange one, ironically, isn't it? Because then it says the Gills on the back of the collar. So I don't know why it's different on the last one as well. So for me, it just looks. Do you remember the Magnus Search ones a couple of years ago, Reece? And then the club went and changed it all. It feels like that. It feels like it's a bit of an afterthought that's just been slapped on after the kit's been made to me, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was a little bit. I mean, it's sort of like I don't find it as offensive as I did at first because I think just sort of used to it being there now. But the only thing that's frustrating with me about the kit situation, and it's hard to be too critical of the club about it because obviously you don't want to get in a situation where you get to I don't know March and you've got 3,000 kits unsold sitting in the store. But I've still not been able to get hold of a black one, and I don't know. I don't like the concept of the season coming round for a League Two club and you can't walk into the club shop and buy a shirt. And we're now nearly October, still not able to buy one. I don't know. Maybe it's just because let's be honest. Surely the club knew that this black one was going to be pretty high on everyone's wish lists.
That's a fair point.
Apparently, I think I read somewhere that apparently they have a sort of obviously a distribution of kits that naturally they order in more home kits because generally people, I suppose, probably buy home kits more than they do the away ones. But yeah, that's the only thing that's frustrating for me is that they've clearly not quite clocked what the demand would be for the black kit. I know you never know until you release a product how successful it's going to be, but I thought it was quite obvious that surely when they had that meeting and that design come up, I'd have thought they all sort of had a light bulb moment and knew that they'd be onto a winner. So that's the only disappointment for me, really.
No, I totally get that. I mean, I was lucky I went there the first day. I shot in after work and got all three. But yeah, I can totally understand the frustration, especially when your team's playing well and you want to be out and be proud to wear it in that type of thing. Maybe if we were as bad as we've been for the last few years, it wouldn't be such an issue. But from a sales point of view and a marketing point of view, I totally understand it.
I'd say
Um,
on the blue one, mate. Just on a positive note, I know it's it. So if you compare it to the last 2 years, not
mhm.
as nice. Compare it to anything under Scally, streets ahead.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I don't get people that moan about Macron. This thing that comes around every year makes me laugh. They go, "Oh, I've got to order up." Well, yeah, because it's an Italian make. Italians are generally thinner than us British people, based on diet and lifestyle. That's just how the world is. So just order up a couple of sizes. It's not hard, and I think the designs have been really good. Like we've we've had traditional, haven't we? Blue and white, blue for 3 seasons as the home kit. We've then had an away kit that means something. We had the black and white, didn't we? Which was testament to the anniversary kits and that type of thing. And New Brompton, we've had the what did we have last season? The yellow kit as a tribute to the 2000 playoff team. And then you get a little bit of free license to do what you want with the third kit and attract a different kind of demographic. So I got no issue with Macron. I think they make some really nice stuff. Um,
Bit too tight at times is what I would say.
Not for you
Just
now, surely.
well, no, yeah, I've lost the weight, mate. But even then, you do have to size up, which I know like is a pain. But yeah, they could be less hugging to a average football fan. But yeah, it is what it is, right?
Match day programme, gents, is next on the list. It was announced, I think, on the 2nd of June, a statement by Joe Comper, the managing director, I believe, via the club's website, that it was going to be stopped. Created a fair amount of debate on social media. Lots of people are not bothered. They don't buy one. They don't see it as part of their match day routine. And then others, like myself, were quite disappointed that it wasn't going to be in production anymore. It's something I've always bought. It's something I continue to buy if I can, more sporadically now, because there are clubs that do not produce a match day publication. There are some that do something for £5 or £6, which you have to pay to get a monthly one, and then you get 2 pages on your own club. So in that terms of value for away fans, I think it's not very good at all. But I see why clubs do it. And then it was announced about a month afterwards. I think it was the 2nd of July, the 4th of July. It was going to be continued. Stuart Lewis, Gillingham fan, had been in touch with Joe, sorted out some printing costs, ways to make it cheaper without lessening the quality, and it seems that it's been very well received. Again, it's not a massive topic to talk about, but it's something that came up over the summer. So what were your thoughts on it? I think you two both don't buy a program, if I'm correct.
Not anymore. I used to, sort
Hmm.
of when I was a bit younger. I've not bought one for probably 4 or 5 years now, though. Um, yeah, I mean, when the club announced they weren't doing them anymore, I sort of just a bit of a shoulder shrug from me because it didn't affect me because I don't
No,
buy them. But I can see why it would bother people. So in that sense, it's good that they've listened and brought it back and given fans that option because it is, as much as I don't buy them, it is good to try and keep some traditional footballing rituals in place. It's a bit like when I was younger, I used to always keep ticket stubs, especially
hmm.
from away games, and now it's very rare that you actually have a physical ticket in your hand to take home with you. Um, so no, it's no bad thing. If the club have found a way to keep the program running in a financially cost-effective manner, then nobody's losing, are they?
Absolutely.
I yeah, I'd agree with what Reece said. I think for me, if I look back over my time as a Gillingham fan, when I was taken to watch the club at what 6, 7 years old, which wasn't that long ago. Actually, no, it was 30 odd years ago. But I remember ticket stubs and programs being the things that I kept, as Reece says, and having a program, flicking through it, it it hits differently than a digital
Hmm.
program. And I think for me, if nothing else, it's worth keeping it to for the love of kids actually getting hold of a copy and having it on a match day. I don't know if you see my boy's got autism, probably not going to come to watch Gillingham anytime soon, bless him. But you've got Ava, Matt, and
Hmm.
does she enjoy reading it? I always got the vibe I enjoyed reading it as a kid. That was how and I look
She
back
has a flick
now.
through it, yeah. It's not sitting there reading it page to page. And at a certain age, kids will look for pictures as well, won't they? Or if something like if they're mascot, they try and find their own picture, or you can get a pen and you can go and get players to sign it. So there is certainly ways of making it accessible to younger children without them having to read every single word that's in there and the chairman's notes and all that type of thing. But yeah, like you've said and Reece has said, for me, it's always been part of my match day routine, and I'll continue buying one. I've even
Yeah.
started now buying pin badges from clubs that I go to, because if there's not a program, you've then got something. Reece makes a good point about ticket stubs. That's always the reason now, even with the option on the season tickets, I get the card for myself and Ava, so she
Yeah.
can actually go and scan
Keepsakes.
herself in. Well, it's just so she can scan herself in rather than Dad
Yeah,
putting
yeah.
his phone in front.
No, fair enough.
That's not as
But it's a
romantic and as
kit.
fun, is it?
I think it's the keepsakes, mate, as well, isn't it? It's taking something like for me as an adult, I'm not that bothered about a keepsake program. I've
Mm.
got a few, like the Leicester one when the Gallanters
Hmm.
took over and things like that. I will for special occasions, but I must admit, I don't buy a program. But at the same time, when we announced we weren't doing it, I was disappointed. So it's a bit of a contradictory statement. I don't buy it to contribute towards the reasons why financially it's not a good thing for the club, but I was disappointed from a tradition standpoint that we weren't. So yeah, it was a kind of a shrug of my shoulders. Well, it doesn't affect me, but I was a bit gutted for everyone else and the traditions of football,
Mm.
and for children having a copy and taking it home as a keepsake. So I'm glad they've retained it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree on that one. Right, let's actually talk about some football on the pitch. Season so far, slash unbeaten run, because we can't go through an episode without talking about it. We've already said we get to lose. We know that because we said the words unbeaten run. In fact, we've not lost a game in 90 minutes this season. Our only defeat coming from spot kicks against Wimbledon in the League Cup back in August. Our record in the division so far is played 9, won 6, drawn 3, lost 0, scored 15 and conceded 6, points 21, a staggering 2.33 per game at the moment. We've had 10 different goal scorers, got the fourth best scoring record in the division. Well done, Reece, you mentioned that earlier. Second best defensive record behind only Oldham. Um, and yeah, only other game was League Trophy, where we saw off Fulham under 21s by 4 goals to 1. 20 goals in 11 in all competitions and only 8 against. It's been phenomenal, hasn't it? Really, really phenomenal so far, Reece. Is that a little party emoji you've just put up there on purpose, Jack?
Yeah, I don't know if that actually shows
It
on
did show. I was
YouTube.
like, what's
No, no, I
that?
don't know if it shows on YouTube. No, people ain't gonna have a clue what I've just done if not.
There's just some weird like party popper things just appeared on screen for people
Yeah,
that are
that was me.
fair enough. I just thought I was going mad for a second. For some more context, gents, before I come to you, 15 goals this season in 9 games. Last season, it took us 14 games. In 23-24, it took us 18 games. And in 22-23, look away now, it took us 27 football matches to score 15 goals. So
Wow.
1.66 per game this season is up on 1.07, 0.83, and 0.55 on the 3 previous seasons. We touched on it at the start, Jack, but just how impressive has this start to the season been? And then we'll get into the whole unbeaten run that stretches back to March afterwards.
Yeah, it's been very impressive, mate. It's one of those where, we've started seasons well before and tailed off. We've not. We've kept going. The resilience, as I said earlier, the fact we've scored 4 and 3 in 2 games, is pretty good going. I mean, all I would throw back on that is that means that in 7 other games we've scored probably about one goal a game, roughly
There's
speaking. So,
still a lot of 1-0s, but
but if we are actually scoring 3 or 4 in or 2 in games, which we hadn't done previously. So that's the only minor negative, but it's been good, mate. I can't complain. And the only complaint I had previously was I felt that we didn't get high enough up the pitch and stretch teams, like had been a common problem. But it seems that that's been resolved now as well, mate. So great start. We need to. That I'm mindful on these episodes that we do this around this time, albeit this is a little bit further on, and we say, "Oh well, it's going," and then all of a sudden it tails off. So in my head, I'm trying not to get carried away, but it does feel different.
that was my question to you, Reece. We know we touched on it loosely at the beginning, but it feels a lot more sustainable, doesn't it, in terms of the amount of goals we're scoring? We're not creating. We're never going to be a side that creates loads of chances like a Notts County, that type of team. But we're creating a lot more compared to what we've seen over the last 3 seasons in this division. And that, coupled with the fact that we're still defensively very, very sound, is cause for real optimism, isn't it? And we go back to the point about, do we have a 20-goal striker? I don't think we need one. I think we're going to be similar to like a Leighton Orient or a Stevenage that went up a couple of seasons ago, where their top scorer sort of got 9, 10, 11, 12. I think we'll have 3 or 4 people that probably get around double figures, and that could ultimately prove to be sufficient.
Yeah, and I mean, yes, whilst there's still been a lot of games that we may have only scored one, we are scoring by hook or by crook every single week. I think are we second to Liverpool at the moment for the longest run of
Scoring run,
consecutive
yeah.
scoring games?
Yeah, theirs is about 40 games though, or so
Yeah,
ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah. Which when you'd compare that to sort of not much more than sort of 12, 18 months ago when we turn up to Priestfield week on week, not expecting a goal, thinking if we had a shot on target, that'd be a good
Very
outcome.
true. Very true.
Whereas now, even if you think 12 months ago, if ever we went 1-0 down in a game, we all straight away was like, may as well walk out the ground.
Mhm.
Whereas now, even that Bromley game at 2-0, now it's just like, I still think there's something there. There's something there. You always think now where we've had this run and we're scoring in every game, it plays on my mind every game now. Even when we go 1-0 down on Saturday, it's like I say to myself, we always score under
Mhm.
Ainsworth. And it's just a whole different shift in mentality. And it's not a big thing, but I think it takes less tension from the terraces probably, which probably translates onto the pitch. And I think there's just a much more relaxed vibe from the crowd, which probably reflects on the players, and it comes from Ainsworth and his character and his mannerisms. But and the thing is, when you're as good defensively as we are, when I looked, I believe that in Ainsworth's 18 games, we've only conceded twice in two of them. So in what
Bromley
that's
and
Cheltenham,
Salford last season.
Yeah. So what that says to you is that the way we are, one's enough to get a result 95% of the time. So we don't need to be prolific
And
to.
in the two occasions we've conceded twice, we scored twice ourselves as well. Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah, and obviously, I know we've won two of the away games, but we are drawing quite a lot of away games. But we are at the moment very much that textbook definition that everyone strives for is if you win your home games, you draw your away games, you're going to be somewhere where you want to be. And at the moment, we're 100% at home, aren't we? We're drawing
nine
the
points
most.
away from home as well. Yeah. So
Yeah,
we're
drawing most of
above
our
and
home games, a
beyond.
couple of wins. Yeah,
We're above and beyond that analogy, aren't we, at the moment?
yeah,
I think the resilience of being one down and not thinking we're going to lose a game you have to commend Ainsworth for that, because he's got the players obviously playing. But I think it's an element of it of you've got to commend the attitude of the players. For part of me looks at it and goes, well, you didn't have the attitude right last season, because clearly a new manager's come in that you like and you're actually playing for him. So that's the kind of the negative side of it. But on the flip side, they have bought into him and their attitude has changed. And I think that's where the lack of a resentment from the terraces has come from. Last season, I didn't like a lot of them players because I could see openly they weren't trying hard enough. They are now. And look what's happening when they actually have. So, commendable to everyone all round that the attitude of the team is much, much better. And that's why we're constantly getting back into games. And as per what Reece said, I think back to the summer. Was it the summer? Summer before, for the Euros, when I was over there in Germany for most of the games. Every game we went 1-0 down under, to be fair, under Southgate in that team, as crap as we were playing, I always felt that we'd get back into those games. I never panicked. And that's exactly the feeling I've got right now, which is a testament to the team and the management staff, because literally 9 months ago, not even that, I'd have thought we're dead and buried in every single game.
Yeah, I think, and we touched on it in the last episode as well. I think we said there was the caveat to that as well, was that the players had to go through three different gaffers last season, and that can't be easy, regardless. Like if we went to work and had three different bosses over an 8 month stretch, we'd find it hard to be motivated. That's not me saying that the players were without fault. Absolutely, they weren't, because that's been proven over seasons previous to the last one as well. But yeah, again, we're seeing the very best version of everything about this football team that we want at the moment, aren't we? And long may it
definitely.
continue. And like we say, the only sticking point is how will we react when that defeat does come? And fingers crossed, we've all said that we think it will be a better reaction than we've seen in recent years.
I agree. Yeah.
Unbeaten run then, because it's not just 9 games this season, it's 21 overall. We broke a 50-year record last Saturday in the south of Wales, beating Newport by 3 goals to 1. Certainly a very much an I was there kind of game, and it was great to be there. And I think it was Darren Ibrahim at the end who went and said to Julian, the photographer, "You're going to get a photo in front of both stands, because this is as much for the fans as well." And it was great to be in it, albeit you could just see my little head. This has been a phenomenal run, and Reece said right at the beginning, you're not going to go 21 games unbeaten if you're not a very, very good football team at the level that you're playing at, and that is 100% correct. So 21 stands goes win, draw, draw under John Coleman, and then After that, Gareth Ainsworth at the end of last season, it went draw, 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 win, draw, win, draw, win. And then this season, it's gone draw, win, 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 draw, win, win. So not is it just an unbeaten run, Jack, but even if you break it down into them three sections, each little compartment of that unbeaten run is getting better and better, isn't it? Points per game keeps going up. We've mentioned goals scored. 27 in 21 doesn't scream champions or automatic promotion at face value. I don't get. But again, if you break it down a bit further, 56% of them goals have come this season. So that is going the right way as well. I generally I don't have any other words for it. I've sat here and just absolutely love being a Gillingham fan since we broke the record on Saturday. So I'm just going to let you say, and then Reece, what it means to you as a football fan to have watched a football club be that good over essentially about 45% of a football season.
Yeah, I think considering how, without wanting to be negative, considering how bad it was previously before that, it makes it even better,
Mm-hmm.
I think, in that sense. So, yeah, just pride in how well we're playing. The fact that we were on Instagram the other day compared to Napoli, Bayern Munich, and Dortmund
It's
because
nuts.
of how long we've gone unbeaten. Amazing. Yeah, they should be proud of themselves. They should be very happy with their work. Yeah, I'm very pleased with what we're doing. I suppose the point is that unfortunately it is only a start for this season,
Mm-hmm.
which is the unfortunate thing. It'd be nice if it was 21 across this season, um, but we've only strengthened this summer over and above what the squad was last year. So I'd like to think this record could go on a little bit longer. To be honest, I must admit I looked at the fixtures the other day, and MK Dons is a relatively tough game, but I can't see when we're going to lose a game. If I'm honest, that's the
Which is a
that.
complete 180 because if you go back 2 years, every episode we kept saying we can't see when the next win's coming from.
No, I agree. That is the biggest thing I would say is the belief they've instilled in the themselves and the fans, and the lack of any negativity coming from the terraces is a byproduct of their attitude and the resilience of this team. And for me, that's put aside the unbeaten record. The foundations of why the unbeaten record are there are those minor changes that have turned out to be major changes have been instilled, I think, by Ainsworth, and it's coming to fruition. So all of them should be really proud of themselves.
And Reece, I come to you. Bradley Dack did the post-match press conference on Saturday, and I thought he spoke really well. It's clear how much he loves the club. It's clear that he didn't come back for me for a last pay packet. And he said, yeah, it's really good. It's great for the fans. It's great to do it with the fans and in front of 600 people in Wales. But this is just the beginning. We have to park this now, don't we? Because like Joe Comper tweeted, you don't win trophies for 21 match unbeaten runs. But that was the only thing missing from that photo in front of the Gills fans, wasn't it? If hopefully, if we fast forward, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, to sort of end of April, start of May, if we can have a similar photo with a promoted banner in front, it would be even more reward for, like Jack said, the foundations with this unbeaten run being laid for hopefully a successful season.
Yeah, and I'd have thought that's sort of a probably going to be a key makeup of Ainsworth's plans for this week is that he keeps the players on the ground as amazing. You have to acknowledge and celebrate that over 130 years of history to
Mhm.
break a record that's been standing for 50 odd years is remarkable. But I'm sure he'll also want to get the message to them is that let's not one game after breaking that record drop a lead balloon at home, probably in front of a big crowd on Saturday. And to be fair, I don't worry about that happening either because I suspect with the run, when you go 3-4 games unbeaten, that can happen regularly for a lot of teams over a season. You might win a couple, draw a couple, but once you start getting to 15, 16, 17 towards 20, I'd have thought now amongst those players, there is such a massive desire to throw everything on the line to keep this going for as long as possible. Because I can't remember if I read it or if someone told me, are we 2 or 3 off the all-time League Two unbeaten record? I think it's 24.
See,
I think.
I asked ChatGPT this the other day, and it did not know the answer. So
I was sure I
I will
see
go.
it somewhere that it's 24. So we could be a couple more away from another record,
And to jump in there as well, I think I also saw something that said if we score in our next two, we then set a new record for consecutive games scored in as well. Apparently, the record's 20. So there's still plenty to play for, isn't there? And that's what happens when you go on these runs. Like you say, the records come around more readily to be broken.
yeah, I think we're close to our best ever away run as well. I think so.
It's like
Yeah,
11 undefeated or something on the road, isn't it?
which when you consider that we've had seasons where we've not won one away game. Um, in my time going Gills, we've notoriously not been particularly good away from home. So yeah, it's incredible. Like Jack said, seeing sort of Playmaker put up graphics showing that we're 10 games more unbeaten than the next best team in England and across the top 5 leagues in Europe. So it's a bit of a pinch yourself moment. And I agree with Jack. I looked at our next 3 fixtures and thought, I don't. This is where we've curse of Gills in the pub. We've ruined it, but I don't see it coming in the next 3 games. I must admit.
No, I think we'll get 7 points out of them 3 games. I think come the end of October, we'll still be in the top 3. And I think if you're in the top 3 by the end of October, there's a bloody good chance you can have a decent season.
Yeah, because if you say the next 3, Harrogate at home, Cheltenham at home, based on form and the table, are very, very winnable. MK Dons will be tough because of the players they've got, but they're not playing well. And
we seem to do well there as well, don't we? We always seem to do all right at MK Dons. I don't fear we'll lose there.
Win 1-0 last season. Was that the game where the keeper let it through his legs? I believe. And then it's the 3 after, where potentially it could come to an end. Grimsby away, Salford at home, Bristol Rovers away. I think there'll be 3 much tougher games, but there's absolutely nothing to fear at all, is there? And then if you get through that, to not get too ahead of ourselves, after that, it's Crawley, Barnet, Shrewsbury, Colchester, Barrow, Fleetwood. And then suddenly you're at Christmas.
There is literally, honestly, mate, and I mean this with respect, like when you look at League Two, I was speaking to my boss, actually. He's a former League Two footballer, actually, in the job I do. And he said to me the other day, and I agree with it, is that anyone can beat anyone in League Two, but equally, you could beat absolutely everyone in League Two as well. Mm-hmm. So it's you look at it and think, we could easily lose to all of them, but every single game there's not one of them I'm looking at and going, we're going to lose that. Like if we was in League One, there'd be definitely some games like that, I would think.
Come up against a big team that's dropped out of the Championship and you go, yeah, that's a free swing because we're not likely to get anything. Whereas at the moment, and that builds pressure as well, doesn't it? So, which again comes back to the point about it probably makes the run even more impressive.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. Flourishing youth system as well is something that's come up this season. There's been a lot of content over the last week or so. I think it was like a EFL were doing a focus on youth systems across the EFL. So there was a few interviews out on the club YouTube channel and the app with Brian Ball, Joe Dunn, welcome back Mark Patterson as well. That one sort of snuck up on us. Sam Gale obviously was talked to as well, which makes a load of sense considering how he's burst onto the scene in the last sort of 9 months. If you look back at last...
I'm going to do a Roy Keane. The defenders burst onto the scene? No, he definitely has.
He'd ask him about how good this unbeaten run. It's their job.
Sorry, mate. I thought I'd get that in. Sorry to interrupt.
And I do apologise to any Irish people that have just watched me and Jack absolutely massacre the Irish accent.
I thought that was quite a good Cork accent,
mate. Tate Hutton last season played 2 appearances in goal. We had Joe Bodo burst onto the scene and played a lot of football matches. Sam Gale obviously sort of made his league debut at Wimbledon, then had a month out and then got back in the side at Walsall and hasn't looked back since. We've since seen Joe go on to Luton for rumoured to be around 300,000 if social media is correct. One side note, I just want to ask you both, how high can Sam Gale go? I'm convinced he can play in the Premier League.
No, I know that you've got a lot of people that watch this channel, so I think he's crap. I don't think he's going to make it, so I think nobody should buy him.
Correct answer. Yeah. Don't listen to me.
Yeah. Conference Premier. No, it's I'd say Gills' heart would say Premier League. I'd say Championship, mate. He reminds me, and people will probably laugh at this, but he reminds me of a young Rio Ferdinand at times, like the way he not only is he absolutely class in terms of grafting and winning balls that you wouldn't expect him to and going through players and having that grit and determination. He can also bring the ball out of defence very well. Like the penalty he won the other day, I think you're only you play at a high level if you can do those things. He's not just winning. He's not like an aimer, just winning headers. Not to discredit aimer, but aimer was good at winning headers and mopping things up. He can do all that. but he can do all the other
It's
things
got
and
a
make
bit
you into a
extra,
top
yeah.
class player.
Yeah, I think it was a run against. Did he run 60, 70 yards with the ball against Wimbledon to win the corner for the Coleman equaliser? There was another one in a away game. It might have been
Oldham.
Oldham where he
Yeah.
broke them down and won the corner, yeah, as
Yeah.
well. I don't think it was a corner, ironically, but he still made the run and got himself into that position. So, yeah, which is why I think he can play Premier League, because I think he's got all that ball playing ability that you need to go to the very top. But
Put it this way,
obviously,
mate.
not yet.
Put it this way. Jack Tucker was rumoured to go to West Ham for what, 2 million, in a classic example of Scally not actually taking the money that would have been worthwhile. If that was true and he was worth 2 million and going to West Ham, Gale was miles better than Tucker.
Yeah, I think if you say at the same age, he's far in front of
Far
Jack,
better.
and
Yeah,
Jack,
yeah.
Jack's had a decent career. We get that, but yeah, I think it's fair to say if you had him at the similar sort of time, Sam's quite far in advance of where Jack was.
Yes. Hate to
Anyway,
say it, given the fellow name of Jack, but yes, Sam is much better.
where did we get to? Oh, this season as well. Yes, so last season we had the likes of, like we said, Tate and Joe and Sam bursting onto the scene. This season we've seen Harry Webster and Harry Waldock and Logan Dobbs, Cruz Bezant, Stan Sargent, Louis Dale all play, but not just play, but flourish in that league trophy game. And I know it was a league trophy game, and we know what that competition is. And I also said that it was probably one of the worst under 21 groups I've seen come to the Priestfield in terms of a Premier League side. But the old adage is you can only beat what's in front of you, and I thought they were all really good. We saw Cruz make his league debut at Oldham when we had a few injuries, which was great to see. Logan, Stan, and Cruz all scored goals in that game against Fulham. How much credit needs to go to the likes of Brian Ball and Mark Patterson, depending on how long he's been back in the job, and all the other academy coaching staff? Because for me, it feels like for the first time in a very long time, there's a few that really have a chance of making it in terms of being at least in and around the first team squad and potentially breaking into the side.
I think they've probably always done a good job, mate. To be honest, there's an element of it where you have a batch of players probably over the years that have just not been quite good enough, which
Mhm.
which impacts on your
Mhm.
belief as to perhaps how good a youth
Fair point.
coach is. And I would probably throw it back as well that they've actually got a bit of love and care put their way these days compared to the past. You know, how much money was actually invested in our youth system when we had our previous owner. I'd like to think everything's got better over the course of time, but they've also then had a decent batch of lads. So I'd like to think they've been given the tools to do their job a lot better than they have previously. But equally, if players are getting into the first team, then that's partly on the player, but they've got to have good coaches and good
Mhm.
people spotting them in the first place. So I think all round everyone deserves a pat on the back for that.
Absolutely. And the great thing, Reece, now as well, is that these youngsters, the Cruz Bezants, the Stan Sargents, and all them names that we've mentioned, they've seen Joe Bode break into the first team over the last couple of seasons. All right, we can look at his numbers and say, well, was he good enough to go to League One? Blah, 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 blah. But he has gone to League One. Sam Gale has broke into the first team, and we're sitting here talking about whether he can play in the Championship or the Premier League. What a hell of an inspiration that this group of players have got, that they've seen in just the last 6 months to a year, that says, I've got a chance here of becoming a fully fledged professional footballer.
Yeah, obviously he's a lot older now, but obviously Dak's come back and he
Hmm.
went through it all. Um, has had a thoroughly good career. Um, so no, I think you have sort of the credit has to be sort of shared amongst all levels. Like Jack says, the player himself has to apply themselves and graft and put the work in to try and make it. Those that have helped develop them over the years have to take their share, and then you also come on to Ainsworth, who is more than willing to give them the opportunities. And what I think helps at the moment as well is that I feel like environment is quite a big deal when you try to introduce young players into first team football. So it's probably helped the way things have gone since Ainsworth's come in with the feel good factor, the unbeaten run, is that it's probably a very, very easy environment for him to drop players into to come and play in. There's no, you think sort of 12, 18 months ago, I'd suspect if you threw youngsters on a pitch, well, whoever went out on the pitch, you could probably visibly feel a tension radiating from the terraces onto the pitch. Whereas now that doesn't exist. I think people will just roll with whatever goes because the feel good factor's there. Um, so no, it's a really good thing, and ultimately a good productive youth system is only a win-win for the football club because one of two things happen: we either produce players like Gale who can come and make the first team better, or they outgrow Gillingham Football Club, which is part and parcel of our level. And like with Bode, we get financial rewards out of it. So long may it continue. Obviously, I don't know. A lot of them are featured in games this season. I don't know who's meant to be the sort of the next pick of the bunch, but I look forward to seeing them emerge and see what happens. Because the Fulham game yesterday, it was Fulham's kids, but that's Gillingham's kids playing against Fulham's kids, who are probably getting Premier League training quite often, and then they've gone and taken them apart. So and I think, I don't watch the games, but haven't we had a pretty decent run in the FA Youth Cup for the last couple of years as well? So there's clearly plenty of talent in the system.
Yeah, I'd say as well. Like I agree with what you said there in terms of giving them a chance and it being in the right environment. Because if I look back over time, if you don't have a manager that's willing to play these sort of players, they end up leaving. And I look back to say Oldacre, there's no reason why that guy shouldn't still be at this football club or have been at this football club and not gone higher. He was, to my mind and my untrained scouting eye, good enough to play for Gillingham Football Club, in my opinion. And then you look at other players over the years, mate, like Franny Collin, for instance. I know he ended up playing at the conference level, but he was the sort of player you looked at and thought, oh, I wish we'd have given him more a chance in the first team. And there's plenty over the years that have dropped down who, and Max Kilman, for instance, we let him go. And I think there was another one that's left recently that started playing at quite a high level that was in our youth team. And you think to yourself that you've got to give these lads a chance and throw them in. And I think that's to the credit of Ainsworth, but also look back on, I think it was Bonner probably who gave him originally the chance, was it not?
The lad Fernandez went to Rangers for $3.5 million in the summer.
That's the one. That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they don't like him at all from social media posts, but yeah. I mean, we let him go. Marlon Romeo a few years ago, we let him go. He went to Millwall, played in the Championship for them in Cardiff and Portsmouth, I think. So, yeah, I mean, all clubs get it wrong, don't they? Like, you could go in every Premier League club and see someone that's released a player and then had to buy him back for 30 million 10 years later. But
yeah, but you'd think at this level, mate, at League Two and League One, you'd hope that over the years, more managers would have given players like that a chance, because they must stand out at this level. I could see why Premier League, they're 10 a penny and they drop out. But we seem to have let a few go over the years, and hopefully that trend has been bucked, and it looks like it has.
Yeah, and like you say, Oldacre's a prime example. I think there were question marks over his attitude at the time, but he went all the way down, didn't he, to Hive, and he's worked himself back up, and he's playing for a good Swindon side, as much as that pains me to say that.
I'd have happily had him this summer, mate. When there was talk that he was leaving Chesterfield, and on social media it said he's joining somewhere, I was like, I bloody hope that's us.
Yeah, he's a good player, very good player. But they're at Gills B now, aren't they, with Will Wright, Tom Nichols, and no Swindon fans watching.
No.
Right, Gareth Ainsworth. We can't go for an episode without talking about Wild Thing, as he's affectionately known. We've sort of touched on it with the start of the season and the form and the results. So my first question was, did any of us imagine he would have such an impact when he took over back in March? I think we can all categorically say no, we didn't think it would go as well as it has done.
Not as this, yeah.
I think we was all hopeful of an upturn, but not 21 games undefeated, 18 under his stewardship and top of the league and all that type of thing. He said at the time, and I remember we all sort of sat down and went, I love that interview. The club are learning. We've got to trust the process. It's going to be a 2-year journey. There's going to be bumps in the road. We're going to have rough periods. You've got to stick at it. Is it fair to say, Jack, that we are potentially quite far ahead of schedule in terms of where we thought we'd be after 6 months of Gareth being at the football club?
Yeah, I think so, mate. I think I said in the summer, based on the lack of any kind of, I don't know, I think the previous summers it felt like more had been done at points during the summer in terms of hysteria and signings that have been made and just the general feeling going into it. And I think we all felt at the start of the season, even though we've been unbeaten towards the end, I think most of us thought, not sure we're going to go up this year. So miles ahead of schedule is what I would say, 100%, mate. And the whole 2-year project, I think, worked in terms of the terminology and the wording of it, because it's taken the pressure off massively. We've said constantly it couldn't have helped with Bonner or any of them knowing that their job was potentially on the line after 6 months. So I think undoubtedly that's helped, mate. And look, we all called for Ainsworth to be the manager last summer. And it goes to show if you get someone in of genuine good quality, they will make a team better. But I didn't expect us to go on 18 games unbeaten with him. No. So miles ahead of schedule, absolutely.
Key words, I think, Reece, that we've used in terms of what Gareth Ainsworth says and what we've seen: passion, spirit, positivity, and enjoyment. I think are two massive ones in that. Club feels as together as I can remember, even since the Gallinsons took over at the back end of 2022. Do you think he's also helped with that statement when he first came in, removing a little sense of entitlement from the fan base? Because I think there's a case to say that when we came down, all right, we struggled that first season, but then when the Gallinsons took over, everyone went, "Oh, we've got loads of money. We're almost going to be like a baby version of Wrexham, and we'll just buy our way out of trouble and get straight out of this division and into League One." And we know Brad was guilty of it all the time, was saying we've got to get out of this, we've got to get into League One as soon as possible. Like Jack said, has he just calmed everyone down with what he's told us in terms of, right, I will make us better, but you have to give me time. And in turn, that's meant a byproduct of that is us as fans have sort of chilled out a bit and not turned up to games thinking we've got to beat them today because we've got the Gallinsons dollars.
Yeah, I think so. It's quite ironic that Ainsworth's managed to sort of calm down fan expectations when he's sort of the polar opposite to what you define calm as. Um, but no, and it probably helps as well when, like Jack said, we wanted him sort of before Bonner. He was a popular appointment. I think it probably will settle the fan base more when I think they probably from the outset trust the person that's coming in. That I think we can be fairly sure that even we didn't expect it to go as it has done, but I think a lot in the main people were comfortable that if we let him get on with his job, he will start to turn us around. Admittedly, I don't think anyone thought it would happen as quickly as it has done, and yeah, we are massively ahead of schedule. And yeah, it's hard not to try not to get carried away with it, because I think I asked you lot in the group chat the other week, sort of if your expectations have changed. Because I said that before the season started, I thought at best we might sneak a playoff place, whereas now with the 18 games evidence we've seen under Ainsworth, whilst yes, there are absolutely better football teams in the division than us, I am really struggling to see that there will be three teams better at ultimately winning football points than we are. You have to look at Tranmere. We stunk the place out for 91 minutes. But this team now, under his stewardship, are never beat. And that mentality in a team at this level will take us a long, long way. Mm-hmm. It will take us a long, long way. And the biggest credit that I can give to Ainsworth as well, and you've mentioned a lot of key words, one I will throw in is improvement as well, from Shadow G to Ethan Coleman to Johnny Williams to Romeo Hutton. You go from number 1 to number 40 through the squad. Every single player is playing better football now than what they did the day before Ainsworth walked in the door.
Yeah, and I think a byproduct of that is how likable he seems as a bloke. I think that's half the battle, really. I've as of 2 months ago taken over a team in the job that I do, and I think part of the you want people to respect what you've done in previous roles and know you're up to it, which is half the battle with Ainsworth. But you've got to be likable, otherwise people won't want to work for you. No one wants to work for a prick today. Let's be honest. And I think I wouldn't say that was Bonner. Maybe Coleman come across like that to some of them potentially, but I don't think people necessarily respected Bonner. So you've got the perfect mix of respect for the bloke's playing career and managerial career, coupled with being a likable bloke. And I'm going to get his name thrown in here because we haven't done it once tonight, but he's very similar to Harris. Harris had a great playing career, coupled with a very likable bloke in terms of a man and manager. And it's not rocket science.
Yeah, and then the other one was Stephen Clements. I just think, and his move since leaving Barrow as well proves that he's probably more suited to being a coach or a number 2, because he's just done that for all of his coaching career. So, yeah, we seem to have stumbled upon the perfect blend at the moment, which is great, and long may it continue, like we've all said. And my last sentence on this section was improving current players and added real quality over the summer. So don't need to ask that because Reece summed it up really, really well. The benefit of fully fit players is another subject I want to talk about, gentlemen, as well. And I'm going to pick three players to focus on. One I thought got a lot of really undue stick last season. That was Ethan Coleman. This is a player that was Players Player of the Year, we have to remember, in 23-24. Josh Andrews, who I've said in the last month or so it'll be the most delayed thing ever, might be the best thing that Stephen Clements did for this football club while he was here. And a certain Mr. Bradley Dack, who obviously had question marks over his fitness when he arrived. There were still question marks over whether we should have persisted with him when last season ended. I think if you ask 100 Gills fans now whether it was correct to keep Dacky on 99, say yes, absolutely. I'm going to chuck some stats at you. Ethan Coleman in 24-25 started 16 games in the league, which was 34% of the total that we played. That is already up to 56% again this season. And when he did win Players Player of the Year in 23-24, he started 40 of our 46 league games, which was 87%. So we're starting to get the Ethan Coleman that we had a couple of years ago that was very, very good.
I voted for him as Player of the Year that year, mate, by the way.
It was
So I
quality,
completely agree.
absolute quality. And I think he gets undue stick about his ability to pass forward as well. He doesn't have to pass forward. He's a holding midfielder. We've got Bradley Dack, we've got Johnny Williams, we've got runners in midfield now. But I think he's got better at it as well.
No, I agree. And if you compare him to, say, like a Lewis Montrose or a Stephen Gregory or a Kevin Mayer that got crap because they were not amazing. Kevin Mayer is maybe the outlier there. But, a lot of DMs aren't particularly great.
No.
Whereas I think he genuinely is a decent one, to be fair.
Yeah.
And yeah, we digress.
Josh Andrews in 24-25. I'm not going to look at 23-24. He turned up injured, but last season he started 2 games in the league, 4% of our 46 league fixtures. He started 7 out of 9 this season, which is 78%. And Bradley Dack started 5 of 46, which was 11%. And a similar, exactly the same as Josh this season, 7 out of the 9 games Dacky has started, so 78%. They have 6 goals and an assist between them this season, whereas in 24-25 they contributed 2 goals and 2 assists. Whoever wants to go first and join in.
Well, I'd say Dak, mate, is pretty obvious quality. Without having him in the team, it's going to be a huge hole. So that one's unmistakable. I think for me, I put on X the other week during the Bromley game when we were 2-0 down when he missed a couple of sitters that he couldn't finish his dinner. I still believe that with his feet. I'm not convinced he's a good finisher with his feet, but that ain't his game at the end of the day, is it? He's a big bloke up front. We've not had, and with the benefit of it now, we've got 2 of them in him and Vokes. So we're a very, very different animal with both of them playing. So put aside his goal scoring ability, I think he just naturally wins so many headers up top that get us further up the pitch and relieve so much pressure that the ball doesn't just keep pinging back to us.
And you also have that thing where 2 centre-backs might get attracted to him, which then leaves space for someone like a Bradley Dack or someone to run beyond.
It reminds me, dare I say it, of Akinfenwa a little bit in the sense of just the way you've described what he does. He's such a big bloke, in a non-fat sense. He's a big bloke that his qualities put aside, ball at his feet, one-on-one with a keeper that I wouldn't expect him to bury. Everything else he does is top-notch.
Yeah, and I still don't think Reece has had a bad game. I don't think I've seen him. Some players you watch and they go 2-3 good games, and then you know they're going to chuck in a stinker. With Josh Andrews, I know he's not played enough, but I can't recall a game where I've gone out the ground and thought Josh Andrews was awful today.
No, he's like a more mobile Hawkins, isn't he? Hawkins did a lot of good stuff, but it was always that thing with him is there was the but all the time, but he can't run. Whereas Andrews is, he can't run himself into the ground for 70 minutes, but he's got a lot more mobility than Hawkins had. And fair play to him, because I'll be honest, last season I'd sort of given up on him. Just resigned to the fact that he was never ever going to be fit enough to play regularly to have any real impact on his team. But obviously, not just credit to him, but credit to the fitness team at the club as well, who obviously managed to figure something out with him to get him into a shape and a level of fitness that he's able to start impacting games at League 2 level, when we can now start to see the kind of player that he can be. Dak, yeah, I know we was all in agreement anyway at the end of the season that he should be kept. I think we're now seeing, he said it all along, and I think we're now seeing that he's reaping the benefits of having the first pre-season that he's had for a couple of years. And, over the last sort of 3-4 years, generally at the club, we've bemoaned a lack of leadership. And and he seems to be bringing plenty of that, especially what Ainsworth says about him quite often in press conferences. I don't think it's official, but I get the impression he's probably the vice captain going off the last couple of games.
I assume so now because he's taken the armband and Mackenzie's been on the pitch, hasn't he?
Yeah, and you look at his 2 goals from open play this season, Walsall, Newport. It's a sign that he has quality above this level. The composure to finish like that around a box full of crowded bodies. There are there's probably no player in League Two that you would rather a ball for to in that situation than Bradley Dack at the moment, in the fitness and the form that he's in. And no, Coleman, I've always liked Ethan. To be honest, I agree with you. I thought he had a hard time last season, and maybe it's the skinhead this season's made him start playing like a hard man. But he just looks like, and again, this probably comes down to Ainsworth and the fitness team, but he looks bulkier now. His shoulders look broader, and he is starting to physically impose himself in football matches a lot more, I think.
I thought he was superb Saturday when he came on, didn't put a foot wrong, and that's the type of thing. And this is the thing, isn't it? And Ainsworth said it, and we've said it over, various games this season. We've seen it on social media. You make changes. There's no drop off in quality at all. I mean, you go back to Harris's first season in this division, there was no change in quality because they were all doggo without being rude. But it's the point about that Jack said, we've got 2 massive target men that are really, really good. And back to your point about Ollie Hawkins, I always thought I liked Ollie. You could never fault his work rate. I always thought he was too nice to play that role. Like if his shirt was being pulled, he'd just let him do it. Whereas I think Andrews would give some back. And I'm not saying it was a red card Saturday, but there was certainly a bit of an arm swung in the direction of the poor Newport lad's nose. But you need a bit of that at this level. You need people to be a bit nasty, and you need people to tell centre halves, I'm not going to be bullied. You're not going to bully me. I'm going to stand up to you and I'm going to give it back. If Seb Palmer Holden and Elliot Nevitt are our little centre forwards, then we're in a fairly good place, aren't we, Jack?
Yeah, I would say so, mate. I think that is the Ainsworth model, to be fair, though, isn't it? Having grafters and big lads. So it's not it's his MO. I just really wished we had a really nippy fox in a box still. I'd crave us to have that, but I think for me that's the only thing we're missing. And you talk about injuries, mate. I wonder, you said there's no drop off. It's because there's not many injuries, and I think you have to kind of look at it and say, well, is that something the management team's doing right? Because for a long time, over recent years, under other managers, we seem to get a lot of, injuries in training and stuff, and it doesn't seem to be loads of them. It's injuries in matches like Little and Palmer Holden and things like that. I know Ogie, I think maybe got one in training, but Masterson did his calf or whatever in the match.
No, Ogie's was in a game as well. It was Wimbledon.
Was it really?
Yeah.
There you go. So they don't seem to get many. I don't know what that means for training levels. I don't know, but we don't seem to get many injuries with this manager, and this physio team. So it feels like, unless it's complete blind luck, they should take credit for that as well.
What I'll say quickly is I've probably gone off topic a little bit because we're sort of coming back onto Ainsworth, but you mentioned like subs and changes there. And one thing I've noticed with Ainsworth is that he has got an incredibly good knack of making the right subs at the right times every single week. I don't think there's been one game under him where he's made a sub and I've gone, oh, I don't know about that. Whereas under previous managers, we quite often had conversations like, oh, we're going negative too early. Why are we bringing this person on? Why are we setting up this way? He just seems to, and like I say, considering how chaotic he is on the sideline, he just seems to have a completely clear mind and has such good consistency at making right decisions, both in terms of starting 11 and the changes he makes in games. Because so often this season, our subs have come off the bench and made an impact. And if you're going to be successful over the course of a season, that is a massive factor.
Yeah, I think the only, like we've touched on this, if we get more and more injuries and we lose a football game, it'll be really interesting to see how it works out for him, because it wasn't brilliant for him at QPR, but broadly where he's been throughout his career, which is mainly Wickham, he's done pretty bloody well, to be honest. So let's see what it's like when the chips are down, but hopefully they're not down for too long.
Yeah, and just back to the point about the medical team and the physios and that type of thing. Is there a case to say that maybe there's now proper investment from above, which helps out? Because, I'm surmising and it's not fact, but I'd imagine certain previous regimes might have tried to cut certain corners in terms of what was available to the medical staff.
I mean, any chance to bash Scally for me, mate. But I will say the only one of the things they haven't invested in is the self-service pumps. Still haven't done it. But that's everything else seems to be ticking along nicely, mate, internally in the club in terms of investment. So that's just
Yes.
the last golden goose.
If that's all we're moaning about, then we're doing very, very well. Tickets for a fiver is the final subject this Saturday against Harrogate. And I think it was Warren Taylor on X who started Project 8,000 a couple of weeks ago. It didn't quite come off against Notts County, and I think we've picked the wrong opponent, Harrogate, in terms of they won't bring many people at all, unfortunately. But it's great to see, and again, it's great to see the club listening. Brad and Shannon have then since confirmed via the club that they're opening the bottom tier of the Brian Moore stand for Saturday. All tickets £5, and I think they've just tweeted in the last hour or so it's sold out already.
I've my second to self-service pumps is having a in Brian Moore stand, whether it be a brand new one or opening that one up, so that we're attacking
Fans.
Look, mate. Honestly, I look back and if they ever watch this, I know they have done in the past, right? And Joe wasn't. He's a Gillingham fan, and we're old enough to remember the Town End. Reece probably isn't. You know, I went in the Town End more than the Rainham End from the age of 7 to when it was demolished, and it didn't matter what way we were attacking. We always had a chance in every single game. That's half the battle I felt over the years is we've had to get players up for attacking that end. And luckily, this lot are up for it and scored a very reasonable amount of goals. But it can't be easy attacking an empty stand, and having people suck that ball into the net from both sides, I think, can only be a positive. All I would say is I'd ideally like us to start again and make a new terrace or something like that. But the fact they're opening it is a step forward for me.
Absolutely. And if it is something that works and it doesn't cost a ridiculous amount to steward it, then surely, Reece, it's something that they can look at doing on a more semi-permanent basis. I'm not saying it has to be done all the time, but even if you just fill one block with, say, 300 fans right behind that goal, right behind an opposition goalkeeper, it's going to make a difference.
Yeah, like Jess, it's just been nice to see some life in there. Especially as, for whatever reason, we don't even stick away fans in it very often now. We stick them down the side of the Gordon Roads instead. So, yeah, it would be good to see some movement in there because, unfortunately, I don't think the shower seal tifos are going to suck the ball into the net at that end on a particularly regular basis.
It's not quite a Sunderland or a Newcastle, is it, unfortunately.
The Gills tifo on the top, which I think sort of sagged down into all the seats now. It looks a little bit sad up there. So I think it needs some faces accompanying it, I think. And then, yeah, it's no bad thing, is it? And, you know, is it going to bring people in that are going to start coming every week? I don't know. You know, history tells you that sort of we've got a core 6,000 fan base, and anything apart from that tends to sort of come and go a little bit. But no, I can't see any bad from it at all.
You know what I was thinking the other day actually is I don't know how possible this is, but if the top part is condemned and they need to get rid of it, do that. And one of the things they could do just to perk that stand up for me is change them bloody green seats to blue ones.
I thought you were burn
it. It's simple as that. If genuinely at the end of the season, if they got rid of that top half of the stand, put blue seats in and let people sit in there every week, it'd be like a new stand in itself.
And then you could do more with the tifos, like for the sponsorship of the shower seal. You could just have like 4 posts, and then you could just have the tifos pinned across it rather than like Reese's. They just sag into the seats now, and it looks all kind of ugly and a little bit like an afterthought.
Yeah, the fact that the seats have been green for 21, 22 years, right? But they are 21, 22 years old. Give them a little bit. If you're not going to make a new stand, give that one a little bit of a tiny facelift and actually get people sitting in it. And we're one step towards that right now.
Any other business?
It's just long may the unbeaten run and where we are in the league continue. I think the club are doing all the right things. The management team are doing all the right things. The players are doing all the right things. And, you know, I think we as fans can look at the players and everyone else and say, as long as you're trying and doing your best, we can't ask for much more. And they're certainly doing that. That's
the thing, isn't it? And we've always said, and we know where we are in the food chain. Like we're a League One, a League Two side, but we've always had our best teams have been built on hard work and grit and determination and a willingness to play for the badge and run through the brick walls and that type of thing. And then if we're lucky enough to have a couple of good players, the Bradley Dack types, the the Robert Taylor types going back to a few years ago, then we'll enjoy it a bit more. But yeah, we're getting the non-negotiables, aren't we, at the
Yeah,
moment, as a bare
we're
minimum,
getting
to quote Ainsworth, and
we're getting
we're getting a lot extra as well.
I agree, mate. We're getting a good mix of good quality players, better than in most recent years, and we're actually getting people grafting and trying. I think we can say if they lose games but graft and try, we would be broadly fine with that. We wouldn't like losing, but half the reason we didn't like this team for so many years is a lot of us felt they weren't trying or putting any effort in. That's certainly changed, and we've added more and more quality. So there's no real negatives at all, mate, at all. Let's just see how we get on when the chips are down a little bit. But thankfully, we've not had to deal with that at all since Ainsworth's been in, which is remarkable, really.
No, absolutely staggering. Reece, anything else to add quickly before we blow full time?
No, I don't think so.
No, it's been really good, gents. And like I say, it's been a long time since we caught up, so it's great to have you back on and chatting through all the things that have happened over the last few months. And as much as a little bit of conflict and argument and discussion and debate creates good viewing, I'm sure it's also equally good to be sat here and all sort of being in agreement and just being really, really proud to be Gillingham fans at the moment, I think.
Every single work call that I'm on at the moment, I am pointing out to non-Gillingham fans how well we're doing, to the point where they're now asking how we're getting on every week. So
That's good.
I'm
That's what you
regularly,
want, isn't it? I always
yeah.
say it's nice to go to work on a Monday, whether you're in an office or in a car or on a building site. You always feel better getting up on a Monday morning when your football team's done well the Saturday before. And like we said, long may it continue.
I agree. I think it's to the point where one of the lads that's one of the other managers at work has coined the term "the 6 degrees of Gillingham" with me. That it doesn't matter what conversation I'm having with someone, I will find a way to get Gillingham Football Club linked back to what we're talking about. So
Got to be
I'm
done.
spreading the word, mate. I'm spreading the word.
Absolutely. Right, Gills fans, as always, thank you for watching. Thanks again to Reece and to Jack for their time and their knowledge. Always is good fun doing these episodes, even when we're not playing well, but it obviously is certainly much more fun when it's like this at the moment. Yes, we'll be back Saturday at the Priestfield for Gillingham versus Harrogate. Myself, Ava, Boz, whoever else is coming. Come and say hello. Come and give us your score predictions. There'll be a review show out Sunday night, hopefully talking about 22 games unbeaten. And then the match previews will return next week ahead of our trip to Stadium MK. But as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Going to be ambitious. I'm going to go for 150 likes on this episode. So please click that like button. And if you're there, press subscribe as well. It's greatly appreciated as we try and get towards 4K as quickly as possible. And of course, the most important thing is up those record-breaking, history-making Gills.